Health is such an integral part of life as humans, especially as we get older into our 40s. I started to have these rashes or things that looked like bites that would just come all of a sudden. I had hives. I was very low on iron and I wondered what could be the cause of this. My body had been giving me signs for about a year and I was just treating the symptoms. One of the things that I've learned very quickly is that hello, my name is Chiemezie. One of the things that I would like to do is to be a safe space where we can talk about the scary side of being a woman. And as a way of demonstrating that, I would like to share my health journey with you. You will probably hear me from time to time talking about health because health is such an integral part of life as humans. Especially as we get older into our 40s, the need to focus on health becomes paramount. It becomes so important because there are so many things that start to change and it's important to get a hold of those things. One of the things that I've learned very quickly is that the fact that you can wake up every day and do the things that you could do yesterday doesn't mean you shouldn't do a health checkup. It's so important to do that once a year. Go to your doctor. For me, this journey began last year. I decided at the start of last year that it was the year I would get my health right. Go to the doctor to do a checkup. I hadn't done a health checkup in a long time. Let's not even try to calculate how long. It's been that long. I hit 41 last year. Before hitting 41, I thought, you know what? I'm 40 years old. So if I don't start to pay particular attention now, when am I going to start? That was my decision at the start of the year. Having said that, I didn't follow through immediately. And I know a lot of us fall into this boat as well, where you keep procrastinating. Oh, I'll do it next week. I'll make that appointment next week. And before you know it, next week is now 3 months down the line and you still haven't done anything about it. Now, in hindsight, I realized that the year before that, my body has started giving me signals that I needed to check it out and see what was wrong, but I wasn't paying attention. One of the signals that I had, the very clear one that I had was I started to have these rashes or things that looked like bites that would just come all of a sudden, maybe on somewhere on my hand, a finger, or my neck, or my tummy. It would just come from somewhere. And you know how we do research, Dr. Google answers all the questions. I did research on Google, and when I looked at the bite marks and scars, I thought that I had bed bugs. And quite frankly, for the life of me, I couldn't understand where the bed bugs could be coming from. I started doing more to make sure that my clothes were, especially my beddings, were free of bugs. I kept doing this, but every 3 months or so, I'll just get a new bug bite. And this continued for at least a whole year. I eventually moved house. At this time, I'd been sharing an apartment with someone else and I decided to move out to live on my own. When I moved out, I left my bed, I threw out the mattress, the pillows. I just threw out everything, everywhere I thought that the box could be. So I moved into a new place. Everything that I was using was new. I thought that's the end of it. And when I moved here, I was still doing the same regimen that I used to do, but these bugs kept biting. It's now graduated from being bites to feeling like rashes, as if some insect that bites just took a stroll across my stomach or my arm or my back or something. And they're so uncomfortable when this happened. The itch was so bad. And after going through this in the new place for about 6 months or so, I just decided, you know what? I'm tired of trying to figure this out on my own. I'm just going to go and see a GP. I've been wanting to get my health right anyway and do just a regular checkup. I went to see a GP. And for those who don't know, depending on where you live, a GP is a general practitioner, a doctor. So I went to the GP, told her I had a rash and this and that. And then she asked me the last time I did a health checkup. I told her it had been a long time. It had been a long time and I wanted to get one done as well. And so she prescribed this slew of blood tests for me to get done. And then she also examined me, looked at the rash and what was left of it at the time that I went there. And she said that I had hives. Never had hives before in my entire life. And I wondered what could be the cause of this. she prescribed some soothing medication for me to take. So basically just a body wash that was soapless for me to use, and lotion as well, was fragrance free for me to use. It's soothing to the skin because it's got oatmeal in it. So oatmeal apparently is soothing. She prescribed that I use that, prescribed some medication as well. And when the test result came out, I went back for a follow-up appointment. The interesting reveal came that I was very low on iron, and that not just very low, alarmingly low. Like I needed an iron infusion stat. Within a week, I was scheduled to come back to the clinic, get that iron infusion, 2 bags of iron. Then I was put on iron medication, also put on vitamin D tabs because I was also low on vitamin D. Interesting fact, after that iron treatment, I didn't have hives anymore. Those bites, rashes, whatever they looked like, stopped. I started wondering about that a few weeks ago and why there seems to be some correlation between my iron deficiency and those rashes. And I did some research on hives, and I realized that hives actually sometimes are an indicator that there's something wrong, that there's something more serious wrong that needs to be checked out. And so now I realize that my body had been giving me signs for about a year, and I was just treating the symptoms rather than trying to get to the root of the problem. So, lesson learned, don't just look at the symptoms, and don't always, sometimes things like rashes, they look very minor. Don't be so quick to self-medicate and self-diagnose. Go and see a doctor. It'll cost you money, yes, but they're the professionals. They have gone through the training to look for the deeper problems. You don't have that training if you're not a doctor. So that's my big takeaway from that. So following that journey of anemia, still being anemic even after getting my iron levels back up, I was referred to a rheumatologist. A rheumatologist looks at the bones, the immune system. So basically for them to see if there was anything wrong with my immune system. And I went to the rheumatologist, got examined, and they couldn't find anything wrong. They asked questions about your family history, your health history, all of that stuff. But nothing nothing was found. I didn't have any, from their perspective anyway, they couldn't find any immune disease that I could have that was causing the anemia. Did another blood test, still anemic. Got referred back to my GP and recommended that the GP refer me to a hematologist. Hematologists, their main focus is blood and blood organs and blood-related diseases. Went and saw the rheumatologist again, got asked this bunch of questions. And from the last test that I'd done before that referral, some of my blood levels were still low. For example, things like platelets were low, hemoglobin was low. I had to do another round of tests. Yeah, this arm of mine. But there was something interesting that emerged in my conversation with the hematologist. It was probably a good coincidence that she was born in Africa, like I was, and lived some of her life in Africa when she was little. But also she's practiced in other parts of the world where she's also interacted with people from other parts of the world, so people from Africa, people from the Middle East, Europe, all of that. And she pointed out something to me. She said that some of the blood counts that are low and are suggesting anemia is actually not uncommon for people born in Africa or the Middle East. I think your environment and different things affect. And so she said that she has actually seen people who have lower counts than I do, but it's still good to run some other tests that haven't been run just to be able to rule things out and say, okay, that gave me a bit of comfort to know that there's actually a different perspective, because the doctors that I've seen previously, I don't think any of them had that exposure to people who are from my side of the world. The numbers that they're seeing are numbers for people who were born, say, in Australia, who in the States, in these parts of the world. But environments are different, and the environment where you were born does impact your general health. And that's not to say you're less healthy. It just means that there are some factors that would be different compared to someone born elsewhere. So I've got an appointment 8 weeks from last week to see the hematologist. I'll let you know how that goes. But big takeaway from this, please, go do a checkup. If you haven't done one in years, please go do a checkup. It's just better for you to have peace of mind and to catch things before they actually get blown out of proportion. I highly, highly encourage that you do that. Especially as you're getting older, things are changing. It's good to keep abreast of those changes so that you know the best way to look after yourself to make sure that the next decades that you live are your healthiest.